Hi guys, I think everybody is enjoying. Okay, so myself Vivek Padhya, I'm the AVP of Weaponized Lab, and today we are going to have session on scalability and hierarchy with replica set. Basically, like 1.5 years ago, we started exploring MongoDB, and more than that time. So there are a lot of aspects that we think that we really can use MongoDB in our production application or environments. So we keep exploring about MongoDB, and then the more we explore, the more we fell in love with the MongoDB. And I personally like lot MongoDB because it has a lot of use cases and a lot of built-in features that is covered by its own. You don't have to worry about it. But yeah, it's very important. It's not a silver bullet for each and every problem. It's very important. So we just keep discussing about these things like in the rest of the session. So let's start. So who am I? I'm a weaponizer and a Rubyist. I do write code in Ruby and love Ruby. And a blogger. My blog is at vpadhya01.github.com. And a MongoDB user and a huge fan of MongoDB. And a geek. And I used to work with my DevOps team as well. I really like cloud and cloud infrastructure and system admin work as well. And mainly write Ruby, but has great passion for JavaScript as well. So yeah, I love JavaScript like D3 data visualization as well. And yeah, and cloud platforms. That's all about myself. And to know about me more, just follow me on Twitter, and we can really have chat on each other. So let's talk about what is the agenda for this particular session. So yeah, first of all, I'm going to cover 10 reasons to love MongoDB. Scalability with MongoDB, what is sharding, what is replica set, replication process, advantage of replica set versus master and slave, and how to set up replica set on production. This is a little bit particular demo, and I just prepared one screencast for that particular thing. So we just, while moving, video is moving, I will let you know how we are doing that. Okay. So shall I start? Okay. So the first reason of why I love MongoDB, that relatively easy to set up. So in just 3 steps, you can start your Mongo process, and you can start creating your documents. You can start creating your collection in your documents, and you are good to go. So there is no configurations or there is no 7 to 8 steps of configuration. You don't have to be expert sysadmin, and you have to just fire 3 commands. Let's sudo apt to get the keys out of the Mongo where is the Mongo beside, and then install Ubuntu package for MongoDB, and then that's all. Sudo etc.init.e MongoDB start. That's all. Your MongoDB started, your Mongo started running, and you can start using Mongo just by typing a command Mongo on your console, and you get a Mongo console. The second is the reason why I love MongoDB is it's really very fast. So if you see in lot of benchmarking tests is available in internet, and you can see a lot of database like MySQL, Cassandra, and Postgres. A lot of all these differences, benchmark tests are already available in internet. So on average, MongoDB is 7 times faster in read and write from all other databases that is available. And I do say that it's really dependent on how we are using MongoDB and in what perspective we are using MongoDB. It's very important to understand that. So you cannot say that, let's say if you are running a 7 to 8 transaction, then MongoDB is going to slow. Yeah, it might be. So I'm coming from a very different perspective. So use case of the MongoDB, we have to understand where we have to use MongoDB and where we don't have to use MongoDB. And the third is MongoDB beauty is scalability. If we talk about scalability in MySQL and a Postgres, I think 80% or 90% people don't know about how to scale all these RDBMS or other databases. But in MongoDB, all these features is built in. You just say yes, and you get that feature. Like horizontal scaling, like vertical scaling, sharding, and replication. So that's why I really love MongoDB. It's really you can really scale MongoDB at any given point of time. You don't have to worry, you may get a downtime. No, it's not like that. You can scale your MongoDB at any point of time in your production server. So yeah, does anyone know about scaling MySQL? I think most of you don't know about it. And how can we scale MongoDB? Oh, sorry, MySQL. So, but after this session, I will make sure that like most of you guys can really go home and really know how to scale MongoDB, and you can apply those skills on your production server. It's very easy. So, and the fourth point I really like, high availability. This is one of the first features that MongoDB says, high availability. And apart from MySQL or other RDBMS, they don't give you a surety that I will be available at every time at any point of time. No, because it's against the property of ACID that I think Eliza already discussed in their session. So this is one of the features that MongoDB support, and how MongoDB support we will talk about that later. And second is MongoDB high performance. As we already aware that somebody asked me that if we are running 10 or different collection at a time, then what happened? And if we are having a huge database or huge document, then what happened? We have a lot of performance metrics available with MongoDB, and you can really do it in very easy steps. You don't have to worry about it, and you don't have to be expert for that particular thing. So, and this is the like 7, and I think this is one of the most important part is flexible schema. MongoDB no schema, that means no problem for me. So I can, so as lot of here, the people who are available here and who's developing an application, we are following Agile, correct? So a lot of time, each and every point of time, we get to know a lot of different functionalities. We have to change our schema, then we have to again run migration, then we again have to take care of whatever data has been there. We have to take care of it. But in MongoDB, you don't have to worry about it. At any given point of time, you can add attribute, you can remove that attribute. It's up to your choice. Okay? So that's all. And second is that I'm already talking about built-in sharding and replication. That is why it's very easy to scale MongoDB. Scalability can be achieved at any point of time. And the eighth, and this is something that is very important. Tangent has really did a very great job there. They purchase all the MongoDB sessions and courses and tutorials from lynda.com, and they just post it for free. If you're a developer, if you're a sysadmin, if you're a DevOps, you can just go there on MongoDB courses. You can get any courses, any tutorial for anything, just for free. That's all. Within like hour or two, like you can really get starting hands-on for the MongoDB. And yeah, so I think that's why I always keep showing off with our like different team members when they are using MySQL in the production environment. I can really deploy any new instance on demand at any given point of time without worrying about what happens if I add another node to my MySQL server or another node to my Postgres server, and we might have some downtime. In MongoDB, it isn't like that. I can really add any node at any point of time, just without any downtime. Zero, what you can say, like it's a 0% downtime until you don't screw up. Like that question was. And the last reason is MongoDB is not based on ACID, it's based on base. So I think already Alexa covered that what ACID and what is base is. I'll give you a little bit different regarding this base. About like if you see basically available soft state eventual constants. So basically available means MongoDB always make sure that it will be available at any given point of time if you configure that. First of all, this is like it's very important part if you configure that particular availability part. Second is like soft state. There are a lot of different theorem or different what you can say definition you can get on internet for the soft state. I had my own different definition for itself because I made it for my own. Soft state means that if you try to commit any data on MongoDB documents or any collection, so it doesn't make sure that it will be available at random or at that point of time. It might be there is some flag, might be micro millisecond. There would be difference between that particular the data you're getting. So you can really like you can configure a MongoDB in that perspective until all the transaction happen. Don't commit the changes. You can have those like liberty for you can make those changes in the database. But by default, MongoDB doesn't support. It's really work on soft state. whatever data is present in there in your application, you can get it. It might be there is some lag is there. And there is eventual consistency. It's the same thing that I'm talking about. Like, yeah, data is constant, but it can be vary at point of time with milliseconds. So this is why I love MongoDB. These are the like main points that I really of MongoDB in a lot of use cases. Second, let's go to like about scaling. I think everybody heard about a lot of time and like let's do a horizontal scaling, let's do a vertical scaling. So let's talk about what is the difference between these two, horizontal scaling and vertical scaling. When we're talking about horizontal scaling, so that means if you have one server and one application is running on one server or one database server, so you can have like 2 or 4 different servers parallelly to support your application. So that's known as horizontal scale. And the second is vertical scaling. What it means that when you try to scale your, let's say you scale your RAM size from 1 GB to 2 GB, you scale your CPU core from 2 core to 4 core. This is what is known as vertical scaling. But it's always said and it's always preferred, don't go for vertical scaling. Lot of time when you go to a cloud provider, you just get an option, yeah, just scale your server from 4 GB to 10 GB. They have limitations. It's very important. It's very important if just getting a high CPU with high performance, just get a new CPU with same standard. It's really very helpful because you just diverting your processes in different 2 servers. It could be very helpful for your machine as well, for a hardware as well. And if something goes wrong with the server for one node, you always make sure that one node is working properly, so you don't have to worry about it. So this is what I'm showing here. Let's say when you started the application, you have only one CPU, 2 CPU core on machine, and then you try to horizontal scaling. Then it's 2 CPUs, then again you are getting 2 CPUs, then again you are getting another CPU. In a vertical scale, you just make it from 2 CPU to 8 CPUs. So we just covered a little bit about horizontal scaling and vertical scaling. Let's now the scalability is really achieved with MongoDB. How to scale a MongoDB and what are different to adding more processor or RAM and you get certain processing capability. So let's say if your processor is taking 1 GB of RAM, then you can and your just server is getting outage. So what you can do, you can just increase your server size from 1 GB to 2 GB. So that is how you're just doing a vertical scaling. So in database, horizontal scaling is done through like multiple core or mistargeted, it should be vertical scaling. Spreading the load between the CPUs and RAM resources of that machine. So you can really do this very effectively. Like if you have 2 CPU core, you can have 4 CPU cores, and you can really divert all these process from all these cores that is available on that particular machine. But it's very important when you're doing this, you are making available 4 processes on a single application server. That means you have to really worry about your threading. You have to really worry about your transaction data. You have to really worry about when our data is coming in a regular basis. Let's say you just open a vote line and you ask users to just vote, and whoever just first vote first 10 voters is going to get some gifts. In this case, this system is going to screw up. So please be aware about these particular scenarios. Yeah. In MongoDB, like MongoDB technical website, I'm just going to cover like how the horizontal scaling can be achieved, how the vertical scaling, and how we can really scale our MongoDB. If you see that how we can achieve a high performance, in MongoDB we can really achieve a high performance using indexes and a RAM. So RAM is like you can really give a like huge amount of bandwidth for the like processing power to the MongoDB. It's really utilizes RAM power. You can have a MAM cache as well on top of it. And then there is like high availability. You can really achieve high availability by using replica sets. So it's just a replication. You're just replicating your data on different server nodes as well. And then there's the horizontal scalability. You can achieve it by using sharding. So you can just dividing your data in different servers. It's just known as clustering as well. So the whole technical benefit is really very important. Why? Because we can achieve agility when we're developing, and we are flexible to of any of these solutions from sharding to replica set, from horizontal scaling to vertical scaling. This is what we try to convey. So let's come to the part like what is sharding? Sharding is the method for storing data sources across multiple machines. So as I already told you, we just divide our data, or you can say collection, in different servers or different nodes, and then there is a config service available sorry, where you can really tell your config server, yeah, for this particular data or sets of data you have to go to this server, for this particular data you have to go to that server. This is how the sharding is achieved, and that has been particularly taken care by your config servers. And also known as horizontal scaling, as I already told you, this divides the data set and distributes the data over the multiple servers or shards, and this is known as shards, and every shard has their own keys. And a shard key means if I say from A to Z, all this data is available in this particular server, that is known as shard key, A to Z. Okay. So let's see how the shard is achieved. Each shard is an independent database, and collectively the shard makes up a single logical database. So what it does mean? So if you see, MongoDB is a one database that is ranged from A to F, and the second is a range from G to J, and second range is K to A, and the last is P to Z. All these databases collectively work in this separate environment. Nobody's, what you can say, like each data set or each shard is just aware what is happening on that particular shard. They don't bother about different shards. So this is how the scalability. If it is a read is happening, the read is happening from that particular shard, for that particular A symbol. Also write is happening on that particular shard. So what you achieve here, you really achieve a read or write scalability as well by particular this point. So let's talk about sharding offerings. What are the offerings of sharding from MongoDB is automatic balancing for changes in load and data distribution. Let's say one day you say that whatever data is available in user table from symbol A to F is very low, but data is available in symbol G to Z is very high. So what you can do, you can really chunk this down particular chart to different two charts from G to H and H to J. You can really do that at any given of time, and then your chart and your config service start load balancing that particular traffic element. So this is what it means. Easy addition of new machine that I already told you. Scaling out to 1000 nodes. So yeah. So you can really scale to 1000 nodes if you are aware of caching as well. So this is what is the beauty about MongoDB. No single point of failure. So let's say today if your one node is failed, then what happens? We have replication, we have replica. We talk about that, how the replication works. Automatic failover. So let's say if your one node is failed or not working and it's not responding, then what happens? And the other nodes that is available there, they just take over that particular unused nodes. So this is what is known as automatic failover. This is a feature of feature known as replication. Let's come to replication. Replication is a process of synchronizing data across multiple servers. So sharding is dividing your data into different servers, and replication is cloning your data into different servers. So what we achieve by doing the replication? I think everybody heard about master slave configuration, correct? So, but master slave configuration have a lot of pitfalls as well. So that what covered, replication has covered. In replication, you don't have to do any different configuration itself. You just have to say replica set that, and you're done. You're good to go. So what happens in replication? There are one primary server and there are two different nodes that is known as secondary server. They keep cloning all the data that is available in primary server or primary node. So whenever a node has read or a write, it always goes to the primary. But there is also catch in that. If you want to scale your read, if you want to really scale your read, what you can do, you can ask your node to always communicate to secondary node for a read commands. You can do that using replication as well. It's really very easy. Why? Because polling mechanism. I will tell you this. So let's talk about little part of replication. So the first important is data availability. Replica set provides an automated method for storing multiple copies of data. We talk like from the primary node, we clone the data from a secondary node. This is what is happening. There is client application, then there is a driver. If any write happens, it happens to the primary. And if any read happens, sorry, just not visible properly, it happens to the read. And the moment any change or update happens to the primary, it reflected to the secondary. How it reflected? That is a mechanism known as off log. MongoDB always maintain an off log. Whatever data has been written, it first written to the off log, then primary commit that data, and when it commits, then those off log copy to the secondary nodes off log, and they just copy that data. If at any given point of time anything happens or wrong happened to the secondary slave over the secondary node, they just copied again all the data what is changes made in primary. And in this, if you see, I didn't mention it, there is one process running known as heartbeat. So what that heartbeat does, it keeps checking each other. So are you alive? Are you alive? Are you alive? What is happening? What is happening? What is happening? Are you available with some new data? So this is what the heartbeat does. And second is automatic failover and high availability. That is very important aspect when you are running your application right now, because a lot of application that we are building or we are trying to build, it's all our consumer based application. No user wants your application to be down for a moment because of your database server is down. So what it does, by doing this, if you have three node server, and one is a primary and two is a secondary, and one of your node, that primary node get down or get broken due to some network connectivity or whatever it is, crashing. So what happens? So then there is one methodology called as election. I think everybody knows as all these secondary nodes start electing themselves as a primary. So whoever gets the most vote get elected as a primary. This might take a little bit milliseconds of time, and the data you have there might get lost or get rolled back. If not get lost, it get rolled back. Yeah.
What is the criteria for this election?
Yeah, so I'll let you know. Just so there is one agent known as Arbiter. So it has all the information about these secondary nodes. So you will say, okay, this secondary node can become a primary whenever primary gets failed. And if you didn't mention that, what happens that all these secondaries, according to their load, if they have high load, they don't elect themselves. They say you, okay, I don't want to become a primary because I already have a high load and I'm writing a data. So this is how all the election happens. So there is one also, like if I'm showing here the heartbeat is happening. So they keep telling the, okay, I want to be a primary, I want to be a primary. Whoever gets the most votes, they elected as a primary. And then new primary has been elected and the application starts processing. Till that time, the primary that is get down, this node, it can start recovering whatever the fail happened. If it is a network connectivity fail or whatever has happened, it starts recovering. And the moment it's recovered back, it says, okay, I'm available and I will be secondary. Okay, so this is how it does work, and it keeps acting as a primary. So this means that a failure of a primary can be handled by the client without any configuration changes. So in your application, you don't have to make any changes. That has to be taken care by itself MongoDB at their own level. Use Heartbeat signal to detect failures. Whatever the failures, Heartbeat does a lot of things. So purpose of protection is like distributed read, load or read scaling. By default, the primary node of replica set is access for all reads and writes. So by default, it's already like mentioned, or it's a default configuration. Whatever reads or writes is happening, it always goes to your primary. But for a read scale, and if you want to scale your load, you can ask replica set, I want a read happening through the secondary. But there's a catch in that. You might get some outdated data in that particular from the read nodes, because whatever write is happening, it doesn't stick in that what you can say it might take some milliseconds of time. If somebody make their updates in what you can say profile, user updates their profile, and that doesn't reflect to the secondary node, and read is happening from that particular secondary node, and then user try to refresh page and doesn't show it. It might happen. So it's really very small, but happen. If you see Facebook, it right lot of time it's happened. If you try to edit it and then you try to reload, it doesn't show. This is what is happening. They have a lot of data centers, a lot of applications happening. So this is what it does. Disaster recovery. It's very important. Like replica sets allow for delayed secondary node. Yeah. So delayed secondary node is very important concept that is being introduced by MongoDB by seeing a pitfall of RDBMS databases. So what it does, you already set up an application. Okay, you are good to go. And your DevOps team or your sysadmin or your developer is trying to update your database. Let's say these are the corrupt entries I want to remove it. Somehow, somebody just delete all the data. All the data. Then what happened? And somehow somebody added a corrupt data. Then what happened? So in delayed secondary, you have always one secondary available in some server that is synced with delay. If delay can be like for 1 hour or 30 minutes, or you can say 2 hours as well. So if something happens wrong with the primary database that is available on your in your application manager server, so you can directly jump to the particular delayed secondary node that is already have 1 hour before data and it's not corrupted. You can really roll it back to the particular state. So it's very easy to detect a failover, or you can really recover whatever data lost from your primary. So this is known as disaster recovery. This node can provide a window for recovery from disastrous events such as bad deployments, as I told you, and drop tables and collections. Somebody just deleted touch here.
Do you need to designate or by design some node as
Definitely, you have to tell. In default, it doesn't say this is going to act as a delayed secondary. No, you have to tell this node, this particular node is going to act like a delayed secondary, and you have to mention how much time you want to time of delay you want. 1 hour, 30 minutes, 2 hours. It's up to you. So the second part is then we don't need a database, automated database backup for that particular event. So it's already happening through your application manager. So what is replication process? Members of replica set replicate data continuously. They keep replicating data from primary to the secondary. And MongoDB applies database operation on the primary and then record the operation on the primary upload. So what happened, whatever data have been stored, it first comes to the primary upload, and then primary uploads, the primary node, commit that data in their particular collection or document, and then that upload is copied to the secondary nodes, and then secondary nodes start committing to their particular nodes. So this is how the process works. All replica set members contain a copy of upload, allowing them to maintain the current state of the database. So they keep the current, what is the current state of the database. So advantage of replica set versus master slave. So first of all, replica sets are basically just master slave with automatic failover and disaster recovery. These are one of the two best parts about the application manager. So you have a pool of servers with one primary, the master you can say, and the n secondary you can say slaves. If the primary crashes or disappears, the other server will hold an action to choose a new primary. And you don't have to configure multi-master for you have to do with a Postgres or a MySQL, and you don't have to trust string, and you don't have to worry about how the round robin is going to work, load balancer. It all take care of the MongoDB and MongoDB processes. This is how the application works. So let's do a little bit demo how the application, you can really set up an application on your servers. So what we did, we created three nodes. One is MongoDB 1, second is MongoDB 2, and third is MongoDB 3. These are 3 servers, and I think already Eliza and Nishan has covered how to install a MongoDB, so I am not going to in detail. So what I'm going to detail how to set a replica set. There's one particular command you can specify, and your replica set is set on that particular server, and then how to configure. Okay, so I think it's not visible. Okay, so I will tell you what is written here. So you have to go to your MongoDB conf file, MongoDB conf dash replica set, and you have to name your replica set, and I name it Webonize, and then n% to make sure whatever data I'm committing, just commit at that point of time. So I have to replicate all these steps on the all 3 servers. Okay. So I will fire all these commands at all the servers, and then I started my log file. If you see k/cos/MongoDB log. So this log it keeps showing. It's trying to connecting a replica set, but it's not getting any replica set because you didn't configure it. You didn't tell your replica set what are the other nodes that is going to be there. Okay. So I will replicate all these processes on all the servers. Like KF log, MongoDB log. It's again showing replica set. I didn't local system dot replica is not available. Okay. Now let's go to the MongoDB first server. Then I just go to the Mongo shell and I do data rs.conf. It's a command for initiating or to getting a configuration of replica set. So the moment you did it, you see there is nothing. It's a nil. It says I don't have any knowledge about replica set. You have to feed me. So what we did, we just first initialize again rs.initialize to initialize a new replica set instance. And if you see in there, the MongoDB, this is the local server, and you configure new locally replica set, and it gives me information. MongoDB is running on this port, and this is what is happening. And okay, that means it's running. And then we see rs.status. Now we start adding all these node IDs to this particular instance. So rs.add the IP of that particular secondary. So it start coming secondary replica set, and you see the IP of that particular replica set, and it starts saying set view, and state is 2. Health is 1. Again, I added another replica set at mongodb2.weaponizelab.com and with the port number. So see, it starts connecting replica set primary, extra port, replica set primary, extra port, and this is going to be added right now. See, connection accepted. Connection accepted. So this is how now your application also is running and started. You don't have to worry about it. Now we have to test what happens if I delete any of these replica set, or let's say I will delete my primary. My primary is Mongo. It's not
that
a
makes
problem.
sense actually.
Yeah, you can do that. It's your application. It's your production environment.
Yeah.
You are the owner. Yeah.
Just imagine that at the end, if you are only left with that delayed secondary.
Yeah, I was actually converging the both things. Yeah, that we have to basically, it's the two different use cases we are targeting.
Definitely.
So this delay time is just like a cron job that we mentioned.
It's a Mongo's process.
Yeah, but like it's just like similar to cron job.
I never drive to that.
So it happens every, let's say whatever delay time I am giving, it happens every that time, right? 1 hour or 2 hours?
No, it's not like that. If you say you committed your any collection, it's done in your particular primary, and then that commit data has to be replicated to other second node, correct? And in that particular time only, within a million of seconds.
Yeah.
In that particular delayed job, it goes after that particular 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever you have mentioned.
Only that document, like that, or the whole process.
Whole process. It's not that document. It depends on
So
like.
then it is again the time dependent. So like it will be running every 1 hour or 2 hours.
So no, it's not like that. So you always, whenever the Mongo's, when you are making commit,
Yeah.
whenever write is happening on a primary, then what happens? It's copied to the op log, then primary make it commit and say yeah I'm done. Then the secondary commit and say I'm done. And that same process reflect on the delayed secondary after a particular time or interval that you have mentioned. It doesn't care कि आपने कितने whatever the transaction you have mentioned there. It's all these transactions keep happening after a particular interval time.
It's a delayed synchronization between.
So in trying to understand, I think that the idea right. For transaction, it's delay
Yeah,
or delay between two different time periods.
So the commit doesn't happen in a bunch. Whenever you make a commit, it reflects to the secondary. Whenever you make a commit, it has to reflect on the secondary. It's all a process that you're releasing to the secondary. You're throwing a command the moment you get a command. Correct. So this is what happened with the secondary. The moment you get a command, you throw a command after 1 hour. The moment you get a command, you're throwing after a secondary What?
incremental basically.
Yeah.
Just trying to touch authentication and authorization. So the way we have groups and roles in DBMS or RDBMS, what out of the box support MongoDB?
So MongoDB has a very good admin console. You can have a read for a lot of users. You can have a write for a lot of users. They are very smart people. They always take care of these things. So yeah, they have a very good MySQL admin, Mongo admin, that will take care of these things. If you say, I really want a person to only read this particular data or a collection, you can really have access for a particular collection or a document as well. So it can happen that way.
And this gets replicated to the applications.
No.
So I can access it from the application. Like
So
this is
you
my
have to-
admin.
No.
You have to provide the users or the groups for accessing it. If you want to actually connect to your Mongo, you have to actually pass on the credentials of your users from the application.
Yeah. So whatever demo I showed, it doesn't have any user or a password there.
Yeah.
So you have to apply it.
There is a question related to the routing part. So I think there is a routing, there is a config service, and there is a shard script. So can I have the routing has also been a failover replicated environment or routers?
So they showed a diagram. They showed a diagram that they are different, but they are not different. First of all, so if you say config server, it's not sitting on some different server. They are inside your own server.
Okay.
So they are showing it as a separate process. Okay, these are my config server for this particular node. This is my config server for a particular node, and they keep syncing. They keep communicating with each of these config servers.
Okay. So basically, routing is a service of
Mongos.
Mongo
Mongos.
service. And configuration is also a service within the Mongo.
Mongos, yeah.
And we just replicate the Mongos across. So
Yeah. Whatever data set you are, when you try to add any new node for as a secondary node, you don't dump a database on that particular node. You just mention replica set, weaponize, it keeps thinking on data at once only. Jonas? Okay, thank you.